Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
You're listening to the Sportsman's Nation Podcast Network, brought to you by Interstate Batteries. From your truck to your trail camera and everything in between, if you have a piece of hunting gear or a piece of hunting equipment that needs a battery, Interstate Batteries has got you covered. You can go to a local retail store, or you can go visit online at interstatebatteries.com. They have thousands of local retail shops all over the U.S., so you can go there as well. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear. On this episode, the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast, we're taking it back a notch. And we are talking about the basics of bear hunting. So this conversation that I have with my good friend James Brandenburg and Colby is speaking to a crowd or a person that it's as if they know nothing about bear hunting. So we talk about where bears are, how you hunt them, how you locate places to hunt, the ways in which you hunt them, and just kind of go down to some of the very foundational basics of bear hunting. So if you're new to bear hunting, or you know somebody that's new to bear hunting and they want to learn more, but some of the stuff is maybe over their head, this is a good podcast for them. Check it out. I want to bring your attention to the Southeast chapter of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is an organization that's designed to keep public lands in public hands and keep those lands open to hunters and fishermen. The Southeast chapter encompasses Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and I believe South Carolina and Florida. And there's a big group of us in this part of the country that are interested in public land related issues. I encourage you to check out Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And so there's just one organization, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. But if you're from one of those states and you become a member of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, you become a part of the Southeast chapter. So check out Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, and you're going to hear more about them on this podcast. I also want to talk about our good buddies over at the Western Bear Foundation, based out of Cody, Wyoming. These guys, just this week, they were in Idaho giving away free bear spray to hunters and hikers. They're doing a lot of good things out west where there is a lot of bear conflict, human conflict, and it's where a lot of the controversy is over the delisting of the grizzly bears. And hey, these guys are hunters, and they're also wanting to keep bears on the landscape by giving hunters and hikers bear spray so that people can protect themselves. And they're just doing some good stuff. They're membership driven, nonprofit organization. Joe Condelis has been on the podcast before, and I highly recommend that you become a member of the Western Bear Foundation. We're at the Bear Hunting Magazine global headquarters, and we're going to have a fun conversation today. I've got with me in the office Colby the Bear Tech Moorhead, and we've got James Brandenburg back with us. James was on the podcast with us on episode 34, which was about 10 podcasts ago. We've been pumping them out.
That's pretty crazy.
So I guess it's been about 10 weeks ago then, because we've been producing a podcast every week.
Where has the time gone?
Where has it gone? But yeah, James is with us, and James is the chair of the Arkansas BHA.
Yep.
That's it, right?
State chair for
State
Arkansas.
chair for Arkansas.
For the Southeast chapter.
Dang, I didn't say it right at all.
I'm going to get a card.
Yeah, well, I should have took some notes, but
That's all right.
no. So last time when you were on, we talked about what was going on in Arkansas, the Southeast chapter, and kind of what was going on.
Yep.
So we, man, a lot's going on.
Yeah. We've got, just coming up this fall, we've got some really exciting things going on just here in Arkansas, which I can specifically talk about. You've heard of the World Champion Squirrel Cook-Off.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know that needs any more promotion, but we will be there as part of an initiative that's getting started here in the state to try to recruit some new hunters. We're going to have a few teams involved up there, bringing their own renditions of squirrel. We're going to have a little get-together at my place before that to just welcome everybody in.
Yeah.
And then
I'm going to be there, man.
I can't wait.
I'm pretty pumped about it.
Yeah. I am looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with.
Yeah.
I've never been.
We got a few things cooking.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
We've also got some other stuff coming up later in the fall that we're not quite ready to announce yet for Arkansas, but we've got some bigger fundraising ideas coming up. And then, man, we are seriously looking for people. We are interviewing people for leadership positions.
Okay.
For here in Arkansas.
Okay.
So that's what's going on right now.
Right on.
Well, I want to let you know, I did change my address, so I am getting those now.
That's awesome.
I'm not still a Texas member of the BHA.
All right.
So
Chalk
you're
one
an
up.
Arkansas chapter member now.
Yeah, I think I'm officially an Arkansan now because I joined the BHA chapter. Driver's
Okay.
license doesn't.
Okay.
mean-
Now, man, you
the
gotta
driver's license. Doesn't mean-
train a mule, train a squirrel dog.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
a lot of things you got to do
I
before
bought a
you're
mule.
officially an Arkansan.
I bought a mule. I'm on my way.
Okay, you're right. I forgot about that. Colby's a mule owner. Okay, yeah.
Oh, man.
I'm changing.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
Jumping
You're
in with
getting there.
both feet.
Getting all integrated.
I like it.
Integrated.
I like it.
Hey, let's go ahead and I'll introduce our topic at hand. We wanted to have a conversation that somebody could listen to and basically go from zero to pretty informed about how to start bear hunting.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about on this podcast. Is we're going to try to cover as much as we possibly can of some things that a lot of guys might just take for granted that is kind of a knowledge base of bear hunting. So we're going to answer some really fundamental questions. And so if you're listening to this podcast and you're interested in getting into bear hunting, this would be a good starter point for you.
I hope so. I'm going to play the role of the guy who doesn't know anything because, that's what I know.
Why are you so good at that?
I don't know that I'm the right one to answer that, but maybe it's because I don't know anything.
Man, you came up with some great questions, and that's what I asked James to do. That's why he's here. Is like I said, sometimes when you've been doing something, you take for granted some of the more simple questions. And in Bear Hunting Magazine, I want to get better at answering some of the fundamental questions because typically, if I'm honest, I'm catering content towards experienced hunters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're trying to get because that's the guy that's subscribed to your magazine.
That's right. Yeah.
So
it makes a lot of sense.
You want to give him something new, and so you're diving into this like maybe deeper stuff. But at the same time, we want to recruit guys to just into bear hunting. We want them to see the what they can do with bear meat, what they can do with where they can hunt bears, how they can hunt bears, how they can enter in. That it's not that big a deal from hunting deer or even hunting small game, honestly. I think sometimes people are pretty intimidated by the idea of bringing down this big animal and then what do I do? And, with just a little bit of preparation, a little bit of knowledge, it's really not that much different than killing a deer. And so we'll talk about that. But before we get much further than that, let's talk about the live Facebook Live session that we're going to have on
August 29th.
Thursday, August 29th. We're going to, at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, on the BHA Southeast Chapter Facebook group page.
Yep, exactly.
James and I are going to be having a question and answer session where you've got to be a member of the group, though.
Yep.
So that's the ask right now. If you want to be a part of the question and answer session, you've got to go request to be a member of the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Southeast Chapter group on Facebook.
Yep, that's exactly it, which costs no money. We'd love you to be a member of BHA, but, all you have to do is request to be a member of that group and look like you belong there. And, we're gonna get on there and answer questions. We've done this a little bit for what we call our Western Hunt series. So if a guy's getting ready to go out to Wyoming for antelope, let's say, or we got a guy on his way to hunt Dall sheep right now.
Yeah.
And he's done some stuff on there in that regard, just trying to educate people on things that maybe aren't as common down here in the Southeast and get them up to speed as quick as we can and just create that same type of camaraderie where, hey, I'm new to hunting or I'm new to this subject, and ask your questions in a place where somebody wants to answer them.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
right
really
on.
good entrance pathways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, try to break down some of those barriers to entry when it comes to bear hunting. So that's, again, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
August 29th.
Thursday, August 29th. And, you'll just be able to come to that page, and you'll see James and I sitting here at the global headquarters, and we'll just answer questions.
Yep.
Stupid questions, good questions, any questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We're both married,
There's no
so
stupid questions, guys.
We don't need any marriage proposals or anything like that, which I know that we might get. Just being, generally, face for radio kind of guys. But
exactly. Well, so that'll be fun. We'll do that, and so let's just jump right in.
All right,
jump right into our question. I'll start us off with the first question, which is, where are bears at?
Yep.
Black bears. So if let's say you're in Indiana or you're in Alabama or you're in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're like, man, I want to be a bear hunter, and that's a good thing to think. Where are bears at? Bears are. I just asked that question. I'll answer the question, gentlemen. Now,
that's good. I was hoping you weren't asking me.
Where are bears at?
Well,
y'all know bears are in the woods,
and
we know what they do in the woods. Yep. Bears range from all the way from the eastern United States and the Appalachian Mountains all the way up into Canada, all of the eastern deciduous forest. Naturally, before pre-settlement, let me just say, they're in the east. They're also in the Rocky Mountain West all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Bears naturally were in Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas and all the Mid-South. And the bears are obviously in all the Canadian provinces and Alaska. And we're talking about black bears. So historical range of the black bear covered almost all of the North American continent. I mean, except where glaciers were, except where there was massive snowpack way north. And so today, the main states where people are bear hunting, and we'll start in the Southeast. You can bear hunt in Arkansas with an over-the-counter tag. You can bear hunt in Southeast Oklahoma with an over-the-counter tag. You can bear hunt in Georgia with an over-the-counter tag. North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina. There is a limited bear hunt in Kentucky. So that kind of covers like that. Those are the states and places that have bears right now. Well, and then as you continue to move up the East Coast, all of those states on the East Coast have bears.
Okay.
West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of the biggest bear hunting states in the country.
Okay.
Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, all those states up there through there have bear season. Some of the smaller states like Connecticut and stuff, to be honest with you, I'm not certain on they definitely have bears in those places. I'm not certain on the hunting. They're such small states, it's, there's better places to go on a bear hunt. But so that's where bears are. And then bears are in the West, almost all the western states. I mean, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, California, Washington, Utah. I already said Utah. Oregon, all the western states, New Mexico, Arizona, all those states are going to have bears, and almost all of them have, all those states have bear seasons, every single one of them.
Now, do you have to draw for any of those places that you've just mentioned?
All the East Coast states, no draws. All those would be over the counter for black bear.
Okay.
In the West, there are draws. Like Utah and Nevada would have pretty limited hunts, but all those other places are. Let me just say there are over-the-counter tags available. Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon. There are over-the-counter tags available. In Washington and Oregon, there are some draw hunts. But the three big states where people are just getting in their truck and going spring bear hunting the two big ones would be Montana and Idaho. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the place to go for western bear hunting.
Okay.
Prep your legs.
Prep your legs. But so in the mid South, the only places where there's huntable bear populations right now are Arkansas and Oklahoma. If you just looked at the big picture, so the East Coast, Arkansas and Oklahoma, the East, and then I can't talk about bears without the Great Lakes states.
Yep.
Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, big bear states. I mean, that is also a major hub for bear hunting. You can run in most of those states. You can hunt over bait. Well, all those states you can hunt over bait. Wisconsin, Michigan, you can hunt with hounds. So that's where bears are.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it sounds like they're pretty much everywhere. So, I mean,
you're within 5 or 6 hours of somewhere you can bear hunt in most any place in the U.S.
Okay.
That's a pretty, and I'm just pulling that out of the cuff, but I think that's probably pretty true.
That sounds about right. I mean, based on everywhere that you just named, you're pretty close to.
I mean, if you're in St. Louis, Missouri, man, you can drive to Arkansas in 5 hours, or you can drive to West Virginia going the other way and being over-the-counter bear tag.
So if I'm a guy who says, look, I like to hunt whitetail, but I'm looking for a little bit more adventure, what's another animal that I don't have to draw for?
Yeah.
Or, I want to get out on some public land somewhere or, get someplace rugged. Black bear hunting would be a pretty viable option because tags are available, the animals are there.
Yep.
And it's a season,
Tags are relatively cheap.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, for over-the-counter as over-the-counter tags go, as
Okay.
compared to elk and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think the two highest priced over-the-counter tags in the country are California and Oklahoma, and that's like a $500 tag.
Which is still not bad.
Yeah. Well, and those are those are high price tags. I mean, in Montana, I think we paid $286 or something.
Like that.
Yeah, like $280. Hunted in Tennessee a couple years and paid in the $250 range for a non-resident tag. So usually under $300, you can get a bear tag. In Arkansas, if you're a non-resident, came here,
$350.
$350
That's for the whole license.
you get, and a lot of these southeastern states and over in the west, in the east, you're getting deer tags along with your bear tags.
All right.
Like for instance, in like a Georgia sportsman's license is like, let's just say it's under $300. Man, you can hunt bear, deer, and I'm pretty sure turkey. That's the way it is in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Non-resident, get a non-resident sportsman's license, you can hunt all those. So that's what's cool about a southeastern bear hunt or eastern bear hunt is usually you're getting some other kind of tag with an overlapping season.
Okay.
So you might kill a deer too.
All right. Well, so you've drawn a very large map.
Yeah.
I mean, the next question is, all right, I'm going to go to Georgia. We won't pick on Arkansas since we're
Don't
here.
come here. No
You're
bears.
going to go to Georgia and hunt bears, or name the state. It doesn't matter. What am I looking for?
Yeah.
If I'm a decent deer hunter, and I know where to look for deer, how come I never see any bears when I'm out deer hunting?
Yeah. That's
I mean,
a good question.
I'm sure some people do, but
yeah. Well, the first thing to do with any state would be to find where the bear zones are and where they have a bear season. Because in every state, most states are going to have parts of the state that could be closed to bear hunting. And that's common even in states with lots of bears. Like in Arkansas, the Arkansas Delta is pretty much not closed to bear. So wherever there is a bear season, you can conclude that they have bears.
You mean
there.
not open to bear in the Delta?
Not open to bear.
Yeah.
Wherever there, I'm not sure what I said. I don't remember what I said. But there are parts of these states that are not open to bear hunting.
Yep.
Parts that are. So you're going to want to hunt in the parts that are, guys.
That's the best way to avoid, doing something wrong.
Yeah, or just finding a bear. Yeah. But so with just a 5-minute internet search, you can find out where bears are, just like a general region of the state. Like in Georgia, it would be northern Georgia. I mean, that's where they have big blocks of national forest. That's just where their bears are. You could go to a forum, you could go to a Facebook group, and you could just type in where are bears in Georgia, and I guarantee that it would pop up, and you would see maps of, it might be a game and fish map that shows the different bear zones. From there, I would look for the biggest blocks of national forests that you could find. Pretty much anywhere that there is big, healthy populations of bears, you're going to find big blocks of public land. Okay. It's true. So in the Appalachian Mountains, all that. I mean, the hub of bear habitat in the east is going to be public land. Yeah. The hub of bear habitat in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and southern Missouri is public land. The hub of bear habitat in the west is public land. So that's the cool thing, is that, if you're hunting whitetail, you're going to be looking for private land to have the best chance. Not necessarily so with a bear, because these bears are looking for vast, unfragmented wilderness. Not wilderness with a capital W as in federal wilderness, but wilderness in a more generic term, just like
wild places.
Forested, just wild places. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's the phrase that could describe where a bear wants to be. Large blocks of unfragmented wilderness. So that's going to be national forest.
Okay.
And so pretty much wherever you're going, you could pretty quickly find a region that would be good. And from that region, you're going to need you could call a biologist. I mean, there's so much resource available. I mean, one call to a regional biologist of that state would get you all kind of answers. When I hunted in Georgia, go ahead, James.
Well, what I was going to say is, along those same lines, do you know if the state game agencies publish that kind of information, like the scientific research that they're doing that says the bears are more prevalent here
Absolutely.
or there, or what type of habitat they like in their state?
You have to filter through their reports. They don't ever just have I don't like Arkansas doesn't just put out a thing that says, best place to hunt bears in Arkansas. Yeah. Even though they want to give you that information, it's not hidden, but they give harvest reports.
Okay.
Almost every state is going to have harvest reports. And that'd be a good thing to search. Harvest reports for black bear in Georgia, harvest reports for black bear in West Virginia. And you would find, oh man, these counties had the highest harvest, and that's absolutely where I would start.
Okay.
That's a good tip.
And then maybe try to zero in from there on specific places that you might like to go as a hunter for whatever reason. Everybody has their different criteria, but then maybe you could build a list of questions or things that you want to talk to the biologist about, and then make a phone call where you have some specific things to ask them, and it's not just like, hey, I'm coming to West Virginia, and where can I go hunt a bear?
Yeah.
And inside of those websites that harvest data, they'll show you like the age class and like the breakdown of what sex was harvested and what zone and all of that, at least from the research that I've done in the past.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff available.
As you want. You can break it, you can really dive deep inside of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say, to make a short tip, go to the counties, start in the counties with the highest harvest. That's usually going to be the densest populations. Now, there could be sleeper sleeper counties that aren't near metropolitan areas. Sometimes where there's big population hubs, there'll be more harvest in those counties around that just because more people are hunting. But typically, like in Arkansas, that's not true. Highest counties for bear harvests would be the places where there's the most bear.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, that's good.
All right.
So where do we go from here, James?
Well, so now I'm a hungry bear. I'm
Okay.
going to assume that
So let's
bears
say
have to
you
eat.
found where you're going to go.
Yeah.
You've decided I'm going to X county into X national forest on these dates.
Yep.
Or maybe we'll talk about dates.
Oh, well, yeah, let's talk about dates first because I need to know when to go.
When to go. Well, okay, so we talked about that. In the lower 48, there are a handful of states that have a spring bear season. Okay. So Montana has a spring bear season, Idaho, Wyoming, oh man, a couple others. But they're limited. Those are the main ones. So we're going to primarily talk about fall. It's fall time. So we're not really talking about spring hunting, even though there definitely are spring seasons that you can go to. In the fall, most fall seasons for bear are starting in September.
Okay.
The Georgia season, I think, opens like the second Saturday of September. Tennessee seasons may not open till October. But, it's going to be that September-October range. Arkansas season opens the fourth Saturday of September.
Okay.
So this year's September the 28th.
Do the season openings kind of follow the way they typically do with whitetail, where you're going to have archery first?
Yeah.
And then...
Well, that's right. Yeah. So the every state that I know of, the first available season is an archery season.
Okay.
And usually, especially in the Southeast, it coincides with the deer seasons.
Okay.
So Arkansas deer season opens with Arkansas bear season. I know it's the same way in Georgia.
Okay.
So that time frame is a great time frame to take a bear. I mean, it's probably like prime time, I would say, would be September, early October to harvest a bear.
And why is that?
Well, so bears during the summertime, it's kind of a season of plenty for them. They've got vegetation. They've got a vast resource of berries. It's kind of like the good old days.
Like the buffet is wide open and it's all you can eat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as the fall creeps in, bears start to hone in their ranges, and their home ranges actually start to shrink significantly, and they begin to hone into their fall ranges, and then they key in on food sources in those fall ranges, which are going to be less than the summer food ranges in terms of options. And so, for now, we're just going to stick with the Southeast.
Okay.
Would be acorns and hickory nuts primarily, and beech nuts in some places.
What kind of
hard mast?
What kind of acorns? Do they have a preference?
Yeah, they do. I mean, just like in generic terms, you would say white oak acorns would be every critter's favorite acorn.
Okay.
In this part of the world, wherever there's white oak is the preferred food source.
Okay.
Now in the West, in the fall, you're going to be hunting berries. Like in Montana, they're not having this big hard mast, and that's the terminology that you would use, hard mast. Mm-hmm. So hard mast would include acorns, beech nuts, and hickory nuts. Mm-hmm. And a bear, he'll chomp hickory nuts just like a squirrel, but he would prefer an acorn, and of acorns, he'll eat a red oak acorn all day long, but he would prefer a white oak acorn. Okay. So that's your ideal food source during that time. And so in the fall, what's cool is as the bears hone down their ranges, and if you can find that preferred food source that has food on it, because just because you have a white oak tree where you're hunting doesn't mean that there's going to be acorns there.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be a bear there.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't. So you have to cover a lot of ground in areas that okay, there's white oak ridges in here. There's a lot of white oaks. And you would know that just by going there. You would know that by talking to a biologist. You would know that by having some familiarity with the area. That, man, this ridgetop has white oaks on it. I'm going to walk this ridgetop, and I'm going to be looking for... Well, I don't want to tell what we're going to be looking for. Does that answer your question about what they're eating?
Yeah.
I mean, in the fall, that you're totally concentrating on hard mast.
Yeah.
And potentially water.
Okay.
Most of the time, water is not the limiting resource.
All right.
So there's water everywhere most of the time. But
what kind of water do they need?
man, they don't care. I mean, honestly, I think they just assume drink out of a mud hole as they would a clear, beautiful stream.
So even like are we talking about there needs to be a trickle in the stream, or a seep out of a rock is enough?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
that could be anywhere then. I mean,
that's right. And so that's usually why you wouldn't key on water.
Okay.
But I've killed bears over water, and it was because it was super dry, and maybe there was, where I'm talking about was like a Forest Service pond.
Okay.
And those are common in a lot of places where there's big national forests where they make wildlife ponds that hold water. And, if you found bear sign on a pond, I mean, put a trail camera up or, sit it. I mean, they could be coming in there. But if it's been raining a ton, not going to be a limiting factor.
Okay.
So
I've got, out of that little discussion right there, I've got 3 different ways to go. So let's talk about the range.
Okay.
So you said they start to limit their range down in the fall. And so how big of a range do they have?
Well, so when you talk about an animal's home range, you talk about the furthest points that it ever travels in a given year or some time frame. It's life. So I've seen maps that have data points of collared bears, and this is the way it looks, James, is there'll be this cluster of points, like right somewhere in the center, it keyed in on some topographic feature. Like maybe it's 2 or 3 drainage basins that come together, and it's just covered with data points. And then out from that core, there'll be
little forays out into other places.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that bear's home range might actually encompass, if it's a female, it might encompass 8 to 10 square miles.
Okay.
So there'll be dots in a square 8 to 10 square miles. A male could be much bigger than that.
Okay.
I mean, on average, though, probably 20 to 30 square miles.
So is a male bear, I mean, we got so many different threads to pull on now all of a sudden. But is a male bear going to be more nomadic?
Absolutely.
Just in general? He could be here today and he could be a county over tomorrow?
Well, it's not nope. His spread all has to do with breeding.
Okay.
Which is not taking place in the fall.
Right.
So it's kind of irrelevant information.
Okay.
That a male bear would have this massive home range, because that all has to do with breeding, which is taking place during the summer.
Okay.
So the fall, and that's a good point for somebody that's new to bear hunting, is that we're so used to hunting ungulates in the fall that are influenced by the breeding season, the rut, the elk rut, the moose rut, deer rut, everything rut. Well, in the fall, bears aren't breeding at all. All they're thinking about is food. That's all they think about.
So then that makes the first point, find the food, that much more important.
That is the whole story.
Okay.
We can end the podcast now.
Well,
find the food.
Well, we found the food, but another thread we need to pull on then is, you said we need to find bear sign.
Yes.
So tell me, what does that look like?
Well, so let me go back to the fall range, though, because that was a great question.
Okay.
And this helps. I think the more people understand bear, the more confidence you have when you're going into it.
Okay.
So is that bears have this core, and most of those dots on that core are probably taking place in the fall, because they hone their range down to this place they really want to be.
Okay.
And when you find that, a lot of times that's really good bear habitat, and there'll be a lot of core bear areas that are overlapped on top of each other.
Okay.
So
you find a spot where there might be multiple bears in that area.
Yeah, like all these ranges that are different ranges, but they overlap in like these certain berry areas, which might be remote, don't have much human intrusion. They might be food rich. It might just be a ridge that is just full of white oaks and has, just for whatever reason, is just good bear habitat. And so that's what you're looking for. But you don't know where a bear home range is. You just walk out there and you're looking for bear sign. Mm-hmm. That's what you're looking for. Right. You're looking for bear sign. And you're looking for scat, number one.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds so silly. But man, if I could do one thing in bear hunting, if you could say, Clay, you can only, with your eyes, you can only see one bit of sign. I wouldn't care about tracks. I wouldn't care about trails. I wouldn't care about scratches on trees. I wouldn't care about broken limbs and trees where they're breaking down acorns, and we're going to talk about all these things.
Okay.
I would want to find fresh bear scat. When I try to simplify my philosophy for hunting bears in the fall is I want to walk until I find fresh bear scat.
Okay. So, I mean, everybody can Google what does that look like. So, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it.
Right.
But, a guy walks around in the woods. He's out in the middle of nowhere, and you don't have a cell phone signal. You come across a pile of something. You're like, what is that? So are there distinguishing characteristics
That's a good question.
other than the amount of it?
Okay. So
or maybe that is the distinguishing
a bear's
characteristic.
scat is going to be quite variable based upon what he's going to eat. But for the most part, it's going to be bigger than anything in the woods around him.
Okay.
Like and so most canine scat is tubular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like fox, coyote. I mean, those are the main things that we would have. You're not going to see wolf scat down here. It's going to be super tubular. It's probably going to have hair in it because they're predators and they're eating stuff with hair. Bear scat is going to be much bigger. It can be tubular, and that's where it's kind of can go either way. I mean, you could have a pile of bear scat that looked like a cow pie. Okay,
all right.
Just a big plop.
Okay.
Okay, or you could have bear scat that was very tubular.
Okay.
I think this is a good discussion.
Yeah.
we got to do it.
Yeah.
I have people send me pictures of what they're asking. Is this bear scat all the time?
Yeah.
And usually, if you have to ask, it may not be because it's a lot of times it's coyote or something. But
It's just like when you see it, you know it.
yeah,
That
there's
was a
nothing
big
else.
animal.
There's
Okay.
nothing else. I mean, the only other competing animals would be coyote. I mean, what other big animal do we have? I mean, all the ungulates that we would have, which I mean, primary would just be deer around here, or out
Yep.
west would be elk and moose too. They're going to have pellets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing else that's leaving unless you're in mountain lion country. And I couldn't even tell you what mountain lion scat look like. So don't worry about it. If you find mountain lion scat, you've just like won the lottery. So good for you. But so yeah, I don't think they're going to have much trouble. But I mean, it's just big.
It's big.
It's big.
Gotcha.
Can you break down the diet of a bear, like throughout the whole year, like a percentage of blocks of what they eat?
Well, so a bear eats, our bears in Arkansas, the studies, and this would reflect a lot of other places, they eat 85% plant matter and 15% animal matter. And of that 15%, like a very high percentage of that is insects.
Okay.
So bears are they're eating lots of plant, and by plant matter that would be berries, that would be grass in the spring, it would be acorns, hickory nuts, beech nuts, it would be prickly pear cactus in Arizona and New Mexico. I mean, like plant matter.
Okay.
And then 15% would be protein, animal matter, which they will catch deer fawns. A hungry bear would probably eat on the carcass of a deer if it found it. I mean, a full-grown carcass.
Mm-hmm.
But they're rolling logs, they're digging rocks, eating insects. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, so that's the number one sign that we're looking for.
Because
what
you
else
can
is
tell
there?
you can tell so much from a pile of scat.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
I mean, like, because you see a track, like honestly, most places you're not going to see bear track. I mean, you only see bear tracks where the ground's wet or where the ground's really dry and bare. I mean, you're not going to really see bear tracks in the leaves. So if you walk up here, I mean, you're going to walk a long time in Arkansas before you find a bear track.
Okay.
So I'm not really looking for that.
Okay.
And if you see a bear track, it's hard to tell really how old it is. But man, bear scat, with any understanding of how something wet and mushy interacts with hot weather, you can tell if it's got a crust on top of it. It's a day old. If it's hard and crumbly, it's so old it's irrelevant.
Okay.
If it is smoking hot and just no crust, saw. I mean, you got to learn how to analyze animal scat to test its freshness. And there's a big difference between a 4 or 5 day old pile of scat and a pile of scat that was made this morning. And that's an exciting sign for me to find. When I find a smoking hot pile of bear scat, you can kill that bear for real.
So then it's get your eyes open and start looking.
Well, then so objective number 1 is find a bear.
Yes.
I mean, and then you go into step number 2.
Hunt the bear.
Hunt the bear.
Okay.
Yeah. And you might do it all in one step, which I've done that, and it been successful. I mean, just like scouting, find sign, and in the same block of time, see a bear and kill it. That's very possible. A more likely scenario would be that you go, man, this is a nice-looking ridge. I'm going to walk 2.5 miles down that drainage and make a big loop and come back out to the truck. And you go off down in there and, dang, there's some fresh bear sign. And you might see bear trails. We can talk about that. But
okay.
You find bear sign. And it's 12 o'clock in the day and it's hot. And you're not really prepared to sit there the whole day. I mean, at that point, you start hunting that bear like you would a deer.
Okay.
You would use the wind in your favor. Because if he smells you, you're done. Big time.
Okay.
You would use the wind in your favor. You would just analyze the sign and be like, the bear seems to be using this side of the ridge more than that side, so I'm going to hunt this side. I mean, just hunting.
Yep.
And he's going to be like a deer. He's going to use these areas morning and evening. They're a crepuscular. I'm not saying that right. How do you say that word?
Corpuscular.
Crepuscular?
I think that's how you say it.
Okay. I thought it was a CR. Crepuscular.
You might be right.
We're on track. I think they know
mornings and evenings.
Mornings and evenings. Yeah, twilight movers.
Okay.
I mean, totally. So you would hunt them just like that. Morning hunt, evening hunt. That being said, my most successful just like spot and stalk, eastern hunting anyway, has been going in, scouting, but prepared to hunt.
Okay.
Scout, but prepare to stay all day. That's what I always say. And when I leave my truck in the morning to go scout, it's like I may be back here in 5 hours because I didn't find anything. But if I get up there and find something, I'm not leaving. And that's how I've killed several bears. It's just going in with packing a little food, packing the bow, packing what you need, and you might just bump into a bear.
Okay.
Because you don't want to. If it's season, you might as well be packing your bow, even if you're doing some serious scouting, which you're going to have to do. So you got to cover the ground to find them.
Okay. That was something I was going to ask. I mean, we'll come back to that. So we've found an area that we want to hunt.
What do we talk about other bear sign though?
That's what I was just going to say.
Okay.
So tell me the other kind of bear sign. So I found a steaming pile.
Yeah.
All right. Now what am I looking for?
Well, so bears in the fall are inside of a biological process they call hyperphagy, which is, and we've talked about that a lot on the podcast, where they have a fall feeding frenzy. Mm-hmm. They're getting ready to go to sleep for 4 months. They got to eat a bunch of groceries. They can forage for up to, and I've never seen this myself, but they say they can forage up to 20 hours a day. Wow. You know? I mean, they're just eating, pounding. And so what I have found that the way that bears use food resource is they will just pound a resource until it's gone. I mean, and I don't know if that's really much different than deer, but like, let me just put it this way. If there's a ridge top that's got fresh bear scat, it might look like a zoo up there. I mean,
it's like a cattle yard maybe.
Yeah, and so you're going to see bear trails, and bear trails would just be padded out, wide areas in the leaves that you can discern that this is a game trail. It's going to be padded out. I mean, a deer trail is usually kind of narrow, and I mean, you can tell a hoofed animal is what's been. A bear trail is going to be wider. It's going to be flatter. The leaves are going to just look like they're just mashed down by a flat pad.
Okay.
and they're a bigger animal. You will also see places, and this is hard to visualize until you see it, but in certain places where the topography narrows down, bears will actually step in the same place over and over.
I think I heard that before.
On Kodiak Island, you can see pictures where they coming around the rim of a point or something, where literally there's holes in the ground a foot deep that look like bear tracks, and it's for thousands of years. Bears, when they come around that point, they put their feet in the same place. Well, on a micro scale, that will happen on top of that ridge top that they're pounding the food source.
Okay.
They're not going to do it everywhere, but if there's a reason, if they're walking straight and they have to go around around that rock, you'll find these little pads. And so you won't find it for 50 yards. You'll find it for 5 or 6 yards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
Yeah, so in that's a telltale sign of a bear for sure.
Okay.
But those trails will last for long periods of time. So just because you find that doesn't mean that you're finding smoking hot bear sign.
You should probably look around then and see if there's still food available on that spot. If there's food there, then there's a good chance that there could be a bear coming to that.
Yep.
Hopefully you didn't spook it when you walked up.
Hopefully what you find is you get up there and you're like, man, there's white oak acorns on the ground. There's white oak acorns in the trees. Oh, there's a pile of bear scat. You walk another 50 yards and you're like, oh, man, look where they are going through this saddle. They're making a trail. Once you're there, you're in the chips.
Okay.
And this is encouraging to me because it's hard to find that spot. I'm not going to lie to you. The reason guys aren't bear hunting so much is because they're tough to kill. They're tough to find.
Mm-hmm.
But that spot is out there. When I enter into the big woods looking to go bear hunting, there's these mind tricks that you play with yourself. And I'm like, and I've found spots like that before. And I'm like, that spot's out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you just kind of look around and you're like, there's a bear pounding this mountain, coming to the same place every morning and evening. Right now, today. I just got to find it.
Okay.
And so you can easily, chalk off areas. You walk atop of a ridge and you don't see much, don't go back there.
Gotcha.
Don't waste your time. Go somewhere else. Just keep.
Well, obviously they can't be in every single spot at once, eating every single acorn in the woods.
That's right.
So they're going to move around. Is there a way that they would go from, earlier in the season till later in the season? They're going to be maybe earlier in the season they're down on maybe they're on the north side where it's cooler or something like that, or they're closer to water, or I don't know. Is there stuff like that?
I don't think so. I see what you're saying. So if you were looking at this huge mountain, maybe there's acorns all across the top of that mountain for 10 miles. In every single spot you pop onto, you're not going to find bears.
Right.
There's going to be certain places that you're going to find what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just, I don't know if it's
just what they find
it's
and
just
how it goes.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right.
Yep.
All right. So what else?
Well, okay. So in the early season in the Southeast, and I guess as we talk about this, I keep talking about the Southeast because it is different. Bears are doing the same thing everywhere. We talked about this before, James.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
A bear in Montana in the fall is doing the exact same thing as a bear in Arkansas, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina in the fall. They're trying to stuff their bellies full of food.
Okay.
That's what they're trying to do.
So if I went to Montana, I need to know what the food source is there.
Yeah, and you'd be looking for blueberries. Montana season wouldn't go very long into the fall because it gets so cold up there. I think it probably just goes through the end of September or something.
Okay.
But, you're looking for berries. And that bear's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to find a berry patch, and he's going to pound it until it's gone.
Okay.
So you got to find that berry patch. For our analogies, we're going to talk about white oak acorn ridges.
Okay.
Broken branches out of trees.
Yep.
In the early season, bears will eat acorns before they fall.
Okay.
So there's a point in the fall when white oak acorns and acorns begin to fall on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that's when animals eat them. That's when deer eat acorns.
Because they can't get up there and rip them off.
Deer can't climb. A bear can climb a tree like a squirrel.
Okay.
and he will tiptoe like a ballerina out onto these branches and eat acorns off that tree like a wizard.
Okay.
I mean, it's amazing to see it and to think that these big, huge animals are doing this, but they do. And they'll go out and break branches. I mean, and this is not, if you find this, you've found something special, but they do this all the time. But again, it's not, you're not just going to walk out and find it, but like a ridge top that's just, I mean, every step you take, you're seeing broken branches, just branches as big as your thumb to even a little bit bigger, just snapped.
Okay.
And that's early season, though, before the acorns are falling. So that would be pretty much during September. Usually by October, acorns are falling.
Mm-hmm.
So trails, broken branches, bear scat, rolled logs, which those are less relevant because you're going to find rolled logs for long periods of time afterwards. But that does tell you that there's a bear in the area.
Okay.
So you might see a rolled log in the fall. Don't set up your tree stand and hunt that thing.
Gotcha.
If you find a rolled log with fresh bear scat, then there's
Maybe
2 points of data. But, we could walk out just about anywhere and find old bear sign of rolled logs and rocks.
Okay.
Rolled rocks, they're rolling rocks, grubbing and looking for ants and stuff. And you can tell how old a rock roll is based upon the lichen on top of the rock. I mean, like if you look at like this picture, James, behind my bear here, all these rocks, and those rocks are the lichen and moss is growing on those things in an equal way. Man, if one of those rocks gets flipped over, it looks like a neon sign flashing on the side of that mountain.
Yeah.
Because that buried part of that rock all of a sudden is exposed. And so you can go over there and get a pretty good data point of how long ago it was that a bear was standing over that rock flipping it over.
Okay.
So, that tells you there's at least a bear around.
Okay.
Bears love to eat yellow jacket nests in the fall.
Seems like I've heard that before too.
They eat the heck out of them. You don't even realize how many yellow jacket nests there are until you go walking through the woods and see where the bears are digging them up. I guess they're eating the larvae. I guess I've never studied it, but apparently the larvae maybe overwinter because they're larvae in the ground in the fall.
Okay.
I would assume that they overwinter and then come out in the spring, the wasp larvae or yellow jacket larvae or whatever. They'll eat the heck out of them. I mean, they'll dig a hole. So.
Okay. All right. So we've got different kinds of sign to look for. We've found the sign. So we're in the hot zone. All right. We came ready to hunt. We're using our best whitetail hunting tactics, so we're trying to avoid, the wind and all that kind of stuff. Are we gonna sit on the ground? Do we need to get up a tree? Do we need to walk around?
All three. Okay. Now it all depends upon the amount of concentration of sign and what weapon you're using. If I were using a muzzleloader, let's say there's a muzzleloader season and you found some hot bear sign, man, with that longer distance weapon, you could sit back a little bit further. I mean, I usually find myself wanting to hunt off the ground when I have a muzzleloader. I actually don't, now that I think about it, I rarely tree stand hunt in situations like that. Bears are stalkable on the ground when they're eating.
Okay.
They really are. So if let's say you found a saddle. A saddle would be a low spot on a ridge where animals cross. That's got acorns, it's got trails, and it's got bear scat.
Okay.
I mean, I'd probably go in on the downwind side and, maybe build a little brush blind and just sit on the ground. Mainly to get I just feel like I'm locked in when I'm up in a tree.
Oh, I do too.
And
I hate hunting
at
from
the
tree
same
stands.
At the same time, though, you would be much more concealed with your scent and movement being in a tree. So if it's just like ultra sign that is like in this 20-yard block, like, yeah, maybe you need to be in a tree stand. And you can find sign that is that specific. Like, he's going to be right here. Or it might be more like there's just bears using this ridge top for this quarter-mile section.
Okay.
That's real likely. It's like just in this section, there's quite a bit of bear sign. So maybe you need to start, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with the wind in your face, just slipping down, timing your movement so that you'll finish about dark on the other side of that bear sign.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
Because now if a bear is traveling just with his head up, just moving, I mean, he can see you just like me or you can see him.
So how good are their eyesight?
Well, their eyesight is as good as they want it to be. They, biologically they see just about like us. They can see color, they can see movement. They're very similar to us in their ability to see. But because they're an apex predator, they're easily distracted because they're not that afraid of stuff.
Okay.
And so what I've found is when they're feeding, you can slip right up to them. And Western spot and stalk guys would know that, but even in the crunchy, deciduous forest, you can stalk them a lot better than you think if they've got their head in a pile of acorns.
Okay.
And, you can get within bow range of them if the wind is right. Now, if the wind is wrong, you're dead. You probably spooking bears that you never even saw.
Okay.
Or if they're in an area where there's grizzly, right?
What do you mean?
Doesn't a black bear act different in an area where there's a grizzly presence?
Well, there's a lot of speculation on that. I mean, historically, people would say, oh, you'll never see a black bear whether you see a grizzly, but people do all the time. Yeah. They do act different. They're more spooky, for sure, but the only place that would be happening in the lower 48 would just be in that Yellowstone region, so it wouldn't be something very common to bounce into, except just right out there. But, yeah, they do act different.
Okay. So we're gonna.
So you could tree stand hunt if the sign was ultra concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
You could, I call it slip hunting,
Mm-hmm.
just where you just kind of slipping through. Or you could build a ground blind in a safe place, and I wouldn't go set up a ground blind.
No.
I mean, like a man-made ground blind.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people hunt out of those these days, and yeah, they're good for deer and turkeys and stuff. But a bear would, well, I just wouldn't. I don't think he'd tolerate it. He'd come over and maybe chew it up. You'd use it as bait to get him in your lap, maybe. Now, I think it would spook him at first.
Okay.
And then he'd come back in at night and tear it up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've found an area we want to hunt. We know how we're going to go through there. We had success. Let's go ahead and we'll skip the part where you've covered pretty well in other episodes. Yeah. Where to shoot and things like that. You guys have talked about that.
Yeah, we do have some good podcasts about shot placement and stuff where we talk for an hour about just about shot placement. Yeah, so we've killed the bear.
We've killed the bear. Now, what do I need to have in my pack? First of all.
Yeah.
This is my first time out there. I'm great at going out and taking care of deer. I can pack a deer out.
Yeah.
What do I need to have in my pack that's different than that for a bear?
Right. Good question. I think that would be the biggest question that people maybe get stumped by or a little bit intimidated by. You've got this animal on the ground. It's usually pretty warm in the fall wherever you're at. So it's not like it's a November, December hunt. So you got to take care of this animal relatively quickly, and you got to get him out. The thing is that most bears aren't over 200 pounds. I mean, if you kill a 500-pound bear, yeah, you got a chore on your hands. Most likely, you're not going to kill a 500-pound bear.
Okay.
Most of the time, you're going to kill an animal that's just a little bit bigger than a big deer.
Okay.
So think about it like that. This really isn't much bigger than a deer. And it's no different. Skinning a four-legged, haired animal is the exact same no matter what animal it is. If you skin a squirrel, if you skin a deer, if you skin a bear, you're going to cut around his feet.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to come down his arms. I mean, you're gonna peel the hide off of that animal just the same as you would anything.
Okay.
I mean, and I'm simplifying it for the purpose of giving people confidence, but it's true. You're going to gut that animal just like a deer. And there's other resources that talk about how to field dress an animal. Okay.
Yep.
But it's no big deal. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it that's got a good sharp knife. So that's my short version, is that it's just like anything else. A bear has four quarters. A bear has back straps. A bear has inner tenderloins. A bear has a rib cage. A bear has neck meat. A deer has all those same cuts.
And all of that stuff is just as good to grab and get. I mean, you want all of that meat that you can get.
Yeah. And in terms of equipment, you don't need anything different than you would if you were killing a whitetail back in there and trying to pack it out.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of situations, maybe you kill an animal close enough to the road that you can get it out whole. I mean, so let's just say you can get it in the back of your truck with a couple of buddies, and I mean, you know, more power to you. You can take it to a processor and have somebody else do it. I mean, I think processing your own game, field dressing it is a big part of it. But you know, let's just say there's a guy that is, you know, if you can get it out whole, you can take it, let somebody else do it. Okay. That's an option. That is an option. But and then if you get it out whole, I like to skin a bear on the ground. You'll never see me hang a bear in a tree to skin it.
Okay.
I can skin a bear on the ground. I take pride in how fast I can skin one on the ground. I don't like to hang them up. I
did that for the first time with a deer this past fall. Just always, you know, the way I learned, it was always hanging.
Right.
And I kind of liked it better on the ground, actually. So I could see that just being easier. It's what you know. If that's what you know, then that's what you do. But I could see that just being easier to work at. You're not having to worry about gravity doing what it does.
It helps to have another hand.
Yeah.
You know, for holding the bear, you know, you kind of got to get them rolled on their back and spread out, and so it helps to have another hand. But you know, you just need a sharp knife that you can preferably resharpen. I mean, you know, if I were just telling somebody what they would need, I would say go get a Havalon, you know, knife with replaceable scalpel blades. Get about 2 of those, and you can skin all the bears in the country.
Okay.
But just a sharp knife, potentially game bags. If you're going to be hauling, if you're killing an animal way back in, they're going to be hauling it out, you can use these white cotton game bags that you take the quarters and put the quarters in. Yeah. And then you can put those inside of a backpack. And you'd be surprised. A 200-pound bear, by the time you quarter it out, 2 guys could easily haul that out in one trip.
Okay.
Honestly, 1 guy could probably haul it out in one trip because you're not going to get 100 pounds of meat out of a 200-pound bear.
Okay.
So
probably like 30 or 40% yield.
Yeah,
depending on whether
with
you take
bone,
the bones
it'd be a little bit more. I mean, because you're going to be carrying the hide out and skull out as well.
Yeah.
But you kill a 200-pound bear, you're going to be hauling out, you know, probably with the hide and head, you know, you're going to be hauling out 100 pounds or more. But, you know, so 2 guys or 2 trips. If you're alone, 2 trips back in there, no big deal.
Yep.
No big deal. And here's the biggest question, too, is that bear meat is excellent meat.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have who really haven't used it very much would have had some kind of negative experience or heard negative things about bear meat. Man, bear meat is incredible. I mean, actually, the more I use it, the more I realize how good it is.
Okay.
I recently just cooked straight up bear burgers, just 100% ground bear meat. Put some Montreal steak seasoning on the top and bottom, pretty heavy. Just seasons that pretty good, just because I like heavy season, not to hide anything.
Yep.
We had my wife's school, all the teachers came over, women teachers, most of them. They loved that bear meat. I'm not exaggerating. Twice in the last 3 weeks, we've had guests from, like, not hunters. They had no reason to like it, James.
Okay.
They had no bias to like it. You know, so if you kill something, you want to like it. You know, so like it doesn't count.
It makes it more tasty for sure.
It doesn't count if I'm like bear meat's good, but it's good.
Yeah,
good. It's even though a bear is fatty, it's relatively lean meat as compared to beef. You can mix in a lot of fat with it, but you would use bear meat just like you would use any other red meat.
Okay.
Anything that you use red meat for, you would use it for bear.
Okay.
Or you would use bear the same way.
So along those lines, and one of the things that I wanted to ask about was trichinella.
Yep.
So I think most people know, and they might even be some bias against that. It's like, okay, we can't eat bear meat because it might give us trichinosis or whatever.
Yep.
So just talk me through that a little bit.
Right.
Am I going to get it when I'm cleaning the bear, or what's the situation there?
You treat bear meat as if it has it, just like you do pork. I mean, probably less so these days, but when we were growing up and kids, even more so. I mean, it's like, man, watch out for pork. It's the same today. But basically, there is no more trichinella inside of commercial swine.
Right.
They kind of got rid of it just through good health practices and farming and stuff. But bears are carriers of trichinella. It's easy. Trichinella dies at like 145 degrees. The USDA minimum meat temperature for chicken, pork, beef, and everything else is 160 degrees, I think. So everything that we cook, even if you don't know and you're cooking something on accident, I promise you're cooking it above 160 degrees. I mean, that's like minimum internal temperature. Trichinella dies in the 140s. So it's super easy to kill by heat.
Okay.
Some trichinella is killed by freezing, but not all, so you can't count on that.
Okay.
So if you freeze it, that doesn't count. But you don't want to get trichinella.
Yeah.
It won't kill you. Trichinella it wouldn't kill you, but you don't want to get it.
Yeah.
So that is a concern. And if you just have just the smallest amount of precaution, it's a non-issue.
Okay.
A non-issue.
Do you wear gloves when you're?
I've never wore a pair of gloves in my life when I skinned a bear.
Okay.
If you had a big cut on your finger, and
which you can do with those Avalon knives pretty easily.
Absolutely. I've had open cuts on my hands when I've skinned a bear, and I just washed the fire out of my hands afterwards. Mm-hmm. I would have done the same thing with the deer. I would have done the same thing if I'd been skinning a turkey. I mean, sometimes when you're hunting, you get skinned up and you gotta, get a briar on you, and so you just take care of that cut and you'll be fine. But you could get it. You could get it from an open cut on your hand and then skinning a bear. You absolutely could.
Is there tests for it? I mean, can you send it off? Can you send a sample somewhere to get it tested?
I'm sure there is. It's not common.
Okay.
I mean, this is the way I understand it, is that pretty much every bear is going to have it.
Okay.
I mean,
you just plan on it being there and respond accordingly.
Yep. And the amount of trichinella cases in the U.S. that people get from bear is minuscule. I mean, people do get it, but it's always from some irresponsible scenario.
Okay.
And there's good, well-known. I mean, our friend Steve Ranella got trichinella. It was, I mean, they were in the backcountry and just cooked this meat, and it was undercooked, and I mean, that kind of stuff happens. And nobody died. They just got trichinella.
Yeah.
So it's really a non-issue with just a little bit of care.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we've got our bear. We've got him on the ground.
What about, as we close out, what if we talked about what to do with the hide?
Oh, yeah. That's okay. I did want to ask that because, so you said, you're going to carry the hide and the skull out. So, do you have to, I guess every state's going to be different on how you have to check it.
That's right.
So
you would always want to leave evidence of sex on any animal that you killed if you had to butcher it in the backcountry. Mm-hmm. Okay, you'd leave evidence of sex.
Standard procedure.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's just say we've got the hide and the skull out. So what are we going to do with it?
Well, you're going to want to keep that hide and skull as cool as possible. It'll be, I'm just going to throw out some numbers here, but let's say it's 60 degrees when you kill the bear at 5 o'clock in the evening on a fall day. You don't retrieve the bear until 10 o'clock that night. Well, let's say you don't retrieve the bear till the next morning, and it got down into the 50s. You better skin that bear pretty quick the next day, but it'd probably be fine.
Okay.
A bear does go bad a little bit quicker than an ungulate for whatever reason. They will. They'll spoil a little bit quicker.
All right.
But, so if you leave one overnight, you need to take care of it pretty quick. But the hide, you just want to keep it cool, and you'll take that hide off. I mean, that's for another – it's not even for a podcast. Watch some videos on how to cape a bear. We've got videos on how to cape a bear.
Okay.
Bear Hunting Magazine YouTube channel.
Yep.
Some of our vlogs. So maybe we'll find a link and put that in there, Colby. But so you're going to take this hide out, and I don't know anybody that's tanning their own bear hides.
Okay.
You're going to take it to a taxidermist.
Okay.
And you're going to have them professionally tan it.
Yep.
And the cheapest way to handle a bear hide is just to get it buckskin tanned. Just take that thing in an ice chest or get it in a freezer as quick as possible. You're not gonna want to ball it up and put it in a freezer.
Okay.
Because think about the insulation on that bear hide.
Yeah.
So the very inside of it, it's going to be days before.
Yep.
So a lot of bear hides get ruined by guys that ball up their bear hide and put it in a freezer, and they think, "Oh, I'm good. It's in the freezer." Well, it's 3 days before the center of that thing gets frozen. So it'll sour, it'll go rancid in the inside. So kind of spread it out a little bit, let it cool for about 30, 40 minutes in that freezer. And then before it freezes, then ball it up.
Okay.
So it's evenly cooled all the way across.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect sense.
And then just take it to a taxidermist and say, I want it buckskin tanned. And they'll charge you $30 a foot or something. For a 5-foot bear, it'll cost you, I don't know, $250 or something.
Okay.
It'll end up being $250 to $300. And you can mount the bear. You can do whatever you want with it. I mean, you could spend a lot of money on a bear. That's a big thing that I hear people say is like financial concerns with killing a bear.
Yeah.
But, there's no laws that say you even have to keep the hide.
Okay.
Like that's not. I mean, the only regulation is that you keep the meat.
Of course.
Wanton
waste.
Yeah. So, but I think everybody, if you kill a bear, man, you better tan the hide.
Yeah. I mean, that, people can throw that dirty word around, but as hunters, we like to have keepsakes from what we kill.
Heck yeah.
Man,
bear hides are beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. They're beautiful trophies. Oh,
Can't believe you
dang,
said
we
that dirty
always
word.
say it. Memory activators, rugs, keepsakes,
Conversation starters.
Man. Oh man!
Tell me about that time you
You
went
know
out
what?
and did that.
I find a lot of non-hunters like bear hides.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that have been really interested in my bear hides, like wanting one.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about that in my house. My wife's not a hunter, and wouldn't a bearskin rug look good right here in front of the
James,
fireplace? Blah blah blah.
you
I mean,
need to
she's
kill a
almost
bear,
given me the
dude.
permission to do it. Yeah.
You
I
gotta
mean, not that
kill
I
a
need
bear.
her permission to do that kind of stuff, but it's almost like she's
Pushing you towards it.
Yeah.
Well,
And she's not real keen on the deer mounts that we have up there. So,
hey, you need to kill a bear.
well,
I could be able to help you.
You're educating me and bringing me along, and which I greatly appreciate. We've got to find time in my calendar
Yeah, that's the hard part,
to get out there, and that's just like anything in life. You've got to find time in your calendar to go out and
Yeah.
do the things that you love.
Yeah.
We all do.
The cool thing about the state you live in is that you go on a deer bear hunt. I mean, so it's not you have not. I'm not going to say great chance of success on either one of those, but it's fun to go on a combo hunt. To
Yeah.
me, that's the funnest thing. Is to go in the big woods and
Just be ready for anything.
yeah, man, be ready for anything. And a lot of and wherever the feed is, that's where deer are going to be too.
Yep.
So you could find deer in the same areas you're going to find bear. You absolutely
We got to
can.
do it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just put one more thing on that bucket list.
Just one more, man. One more.
It's all right.
Well, all right. So we started from we didn't even know where bears were,
Yep.
and we went all the way to taking a hide to the taxidermist.
That's how it's supposed to be done, right?
That's the full gamut, right?
In what, an hour and 10 minutes or
Yeah.
so? Everybody should be well educated now.
Yeah. No, this is good. Any other thoughts?
The only other thing that I was going to say that I was going to ask you about was when we kind of talked about sight and smell and hearing was the other thing.
Okay.
You kind of touched on that already, so I don't think we need to go too much into that. And I was going to ask you, how do I know what kind of bear I want to shoot? I mean, how do I know if I want to shoot that bear?
Okay.
I found a bear, but do I want that bear?
Okay.
That's going to be maybe a subject for a different podcast.
Well, we have a podcast on judging black bears.
Yep.
Where we nerd out for a long time, hour and a half probably, talking about judging bears, and that's a good resource. It really is. Like,
yep.
I almost want to go back and listen to it. Yeah, because bears are hard to judge. But from a regulation standpoint, most states, you're not supposed to shoot a sow with cubs.
Okay.
So that's general rule everywhere you're hunting bears, is that you want to be able to look at a bear long enough to recognize if it's alone. And if she's got young cubs, those cubs will be close.
Okay.
I mean, that's just general rule. So you can't shoot a sow with cubs. And there's some regulations about weight in some places. In Arkansas, there's not.
Okay.
But and I don't even want to say because I can't remember. But I mean, there's some places where it's like you're not supposed to shoot a bear under 75 pounds or something. And,
Which that should be pretty obvious.
Yeah, you're if you see a bear that's about as big as a half-grown Labrador Retriever, you're not going to want to shoot it.
Yeah. I might mistake it for a Labrador Retriever.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, I think we've hit
covered
the
it
high
pretty
points
good.
for sure. I think we've left some things undiscussed, or probably just scratched the surface in some areas. But that'll be the great place for people to come and ask us questions.
Yeah. So remind them again of where we're going to be.
All right. So we're going to be on Facebook, August 29th, 7 p.m. Central Time, on the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Southeast Chapter Facebook page.
That's right.
So you just get on Facebook and search for Southeast Chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers.
Yep.
We'll pop right up. And if you're not a member of that particular page, then ask to join, and some of our generous page administrators will evaluate your requests and get that all set up so we can do that.
And, I guess people could even submit questions before then. We could come loaded with some questions, and they could email info@bear-hunting.com.
Yep.
info@bear-hunting.com.
Yep.
If you had just some questions on your mind right away, or Instagram us, or private messages on Facebook or Instagram. There's 1,000 ways, but if we came in preloaded with a couple of questions from this podcast, that'd be good. But no, I think sometimes people are intimidated by a bear. Well, here's something we got to say before we end: are bears dangerous?
Oh yeah, that was on my list, and I was like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, most people that are going to have hunted much at all are going to know that black bears are really just not that dangerous. I mean, you're not going to be walking out in the woods and a bear attack you. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
But you did say that we're going to try to be quiet, and we're going to slip along. So if we're doing our job right and staying downwind of them, there's always that chance that we could surprise one. And the worst one to surprise would be a sow with cubs.
Yeah.
So real quick, what do we do in that situation? I mean, let's cover it real quick.
Run like a Girl Scout. No, I'm just kidding.
Hope that you run faster than your buddy.
Now, that is probably, my good buddy Mo Shepherd that we did a podcast with. Mo has actually been, I'm not going to say attacked, but he had his bow chewed on by a bear that he was poking in the face. Super rare situation. I mean, ultra rare, but it did happen 20 miles from here. He was walking in the fall along a ridge top, spooked two cubs of the year, young, look like footballs, and they ran up a tree right beside him. He just came up on them. Bam! They ran up a tree and started chattering and making noise, and then Mama just rushes in, sees Mo standing there, and she absolutely, just like an attacking dog, just comes in woofing and popping, and he was backpedaling and poking that bear in the nose with his recurved bow. And finally, he just backed up, and he was hollering and yelling and kicking, and I think he actually even kicked the bear. We'll have to get Mo. I can't remember. I drew a picture of it 10 years ago for a magazine article that I did on it. Yeah, I've got a picture of Mo Shepherd fighting a bear with his bow.
Nice.
That's a really rare situation.
Okay.
I mean, golly, if you see a sow with cubs, just duck your head and just get the heck out of it. Just back out of there slowly. Or try to scare it. I mean, that would probably be my initial response. If a sow bear started charging me, I'd probably holler and scream at it and throw my arms. And I mean, she's not going to attack you.
Okay. All right.
She did attack Mo, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But in general, there's no reason to be afraid of bears. Now, if you're out west and in grizzly bear country, that's another podcast.
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's a whole other podcast. Grizzly bears are dangerous. Black bears are typically not.
Okay. All right. Well,
Cool.
I think we've covered the high points.
Yeah.
And left some ground to plow.
All right. Well, we'll see everybody on Thursday, the 29th, or people that want to be involved. Colby, what do we always say?
You got to keep those wild places wild, because that's where the bears live.
That was a long pause there.
Well, I'm trying
You
to.
waiting for me to finish?
I'm trying to be. Well, yeah, but then I was trying to get my Brent voice on.
Keep the wild places wild, because that's where the bears live.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.